welcome to a Python 3 Basics tutorial series. In this series, you will learn the building blocks to the Python programming language. A bit about the language. Python was created by Guido van Rossum in the late 80s, and then from there, Python slowly began to gain recognition and popularity. Python 2.0, which is really where Python gained a lot of traction, came about in 2000, and then finally Python 3.0, which is the version of Python we're covering here, came out in late 2008. Python is what is known as a high-level programming language, which means it has a decent distance away from raw kind of machine code. This high-level nature makes Python a fantastic choice as a first programming language because the syntax is very simple just to understand compared to many other languages, and the wide range of tasks that Python can cover is staggering. So that's kind of why it makes such a good language. For the most part, you should be able to look at some Python code and understand what is happening, even if possibly you're not a programmer. There might be some confusing things there, but for the most part, it should kind of make sense even visually to the non-programmer. So with Python, you can do all sorts of things, data analysis, visualization, to robotics, to web design, and a whole lot more. So Python is a scripting language, and it's interpreted at runtime. So a scripting language just means that the program is read line by line. This means that any errors, besides any syntax errors, these errors are going to not be discovered until the program goes line by line through the program and will basically run all the lines until the error, and then it will finally arrive to the error and throw the error, as opposed to compiled languages where they're compiled at run, and if there's an error somewhere in the program, it's going to show right at the compiling of it. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, how do we actually get Python? So first we're going to need to head over to python.org, which is what we're staring at right now. And if you come here, it may look a little different depending on when you actually show up to the series. If you're watching the series right now, the current version for me is Python 3.4, but you might be watching this and maybe 3.8 is out, for example. As long as it's Python 3 something, everything should be similar. And the creator of Python and the developers of Python at the moment are saying that even later versions should be completely workable between the versions, as opposed to there's a lot of major differences between Python, say, 2.7 and Python 3.4. So once you're on python.org, let's click on downloads. You could just go straight to one of these downloads. It's obviously sensing that I'm on a Windows machine. And if you want to download 32-bit Python, then feel free. But if you happen to have a 64-bit operating system, I would kind of suggest that you not download this one. You should go with the 64-bit version of Python. And the reason for this is 32-bit operating systems and then any 32-bit programs are going to be limited to 2 gigabytes of RAM per instance. So anytime you're trying to do something that's going to require more than 2 gigs of RAM, your program is going to just stop, come to a grinding halt. And so that's no good. So if you have a 64-bit operating system, you should definitely have 64-bit Python. So for me, on Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Windows. And we can see all of these releases. We're actually interested in the most recent 3.4.1 here. They're also still releasing new versions of Python 2.7 as well, just simply because there are still people that program in Python 2, because there is a pretty staggering difference between the two of them. So a lot of Python 2 code is not compatible with Python 3 code or of Python 3 interpreter. So for this reason, a lot of businesses are being run off of Python 2.7. They simply can't make the switch to 3.4 without a lot of work. So that's why we have that happening. So anyways, let's click on 3.4.1 or whatever the latest one is for you. And you can come down here and we'll go to download. Please proceed to the download page. We'll click on that. And for me, again, I'm on a Windows 64-bit machine. Now, you can download whichever version you want. You can also download the source. If you're on Mac OS, you can download here. Although, if you are on Mac or any Apple computer, for the most part, you should have no problem. You actually should have Python already installed. It would behoove you to check if you're on a Mac. Anyway, coming down here, I want the Windows x86-64 MSI installer for the 64-bit Python, so we'll go ahead and install that. And whenever that's installed, go ahead and run. And next. I already have it because I use